Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff Mom Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
So, it's not a great time for the U.S. I might have been crying this morning over some videos of people outside of the U.S. who actually are compassionately asking how we're doing, and understanding that we are not doing well. And as more and more fascist things, fascist-like things and things are occurring here, we're trying to combat the feeling of helplessness and fear by focusing on people and organizations and protesters and the right to protest. That we're trying to find things to uplift or to at least encourage our fellow peoples in this time. And yeah, protesters have been out and about all around the U.S., even today, constantly. And with Labor Day coming, I know there's some thoughts and processing of possibly more organizations coming out and about. So we thought for this activists around the world that we would talk about some protesting organizations and trusted organizations so we can gather together and get unified. As we were talking about previous leaders and protesters and people in the sphere, talking about how being unified is one of the key points in combating this. And with activists around the world, that's something that we love to do, is highlight those good organizations that we see as trustworthy and that have done proven good work. However, let me admit to you now, this episode is a little odd, a little different, because I've hit some roadblocks. I've hit some questions in my own mind and my own thinking, as we know that the government, not to be paranoid or over the top, we're buying into some conspiracy theories, but we know that the government does track a lot of our data. That's what they have done. They have set this up from jump in order to be able to do so with very little slowing down or any kind of repercussions. They are free to do so. So there's a lot of conversations, and even talking about the organizations recently from other activists around the world, how they're trying to protect their members and their staff. And in order to do so, we know that things like ICE does not care about any actual legal thresholds. They do not care about due process, and they don't even actually care who you are. And they have given themselves permission by our current administration as well to do whatever they want. So there's a lot of things happening in which I have gone back and forth about, I want to talk about these organizations. I want to find these organizations. But even though we might not be the best podcast, and we've kind of lost a lot of people through, host changes, through other amazing podcasts coming out and all these other things. So many things. We might not be the most popular, but we are still available in public spheres. And so speaking out loud, we also want to take responsibility in making sure people are safe as well. So I've hit this moment of I want to talk about these organizations. I would love for you, our listeners, who are involved in things in that area, because obviously we are in the state of Georgia and Atlanta, and we have a very different viewpoint from people who are in New York and LA and DC. Talked to Bridget today and found out how she was doing, stuff like that. So if you have experiences, you can tell us about how you have joined some protests recently and how well they went for you, or how scary they went for you, or things that you have learned. We would love for you to share. We need that right now. We need that information, because one of the things that we can do as podcasters, and what I feel like we have a responsibility to do, is to be able to tell the truth and highlight the things that are happening around the country, especially when things are being suppressed pretty heavily. So if our new email address is hello@stuffmomnevertoldyou.com. Did I get that right, Anney?
Yep.
That's usually your thing, so I can't remember always. But please send us an email. You can go onto our social media. We're not on that as active anymore because, again, we are in bad places in our mental health sometimes. So, But if you can send us your stories of what things that you think you can share, things that you're willing to share, please do, because we need those stories. This is something I'm doing as a call out. So this is why this episode is a little different. And honestly, we are also in Crush Month. This is what I'm going to call it, because this is the time of year right before the holidays where a lot of activity happens: birthdays, Dragon Con, holidays, vacation times, all those things happen around this time. So we were trying to get everything straight. So we are recording this. I'm going to timestamp this August 26th of 2025. So a little bit ahead. Because, for me, I'm the procrastinator, likes to wait last minute, but we're a little bit ahead. So even with that, there are obviously things that are changing and being ever so scary, with things happening all around the world, all around the country. As we write, as we record, as we release this episode, there are more and more events happening. So bear with us, and especially specific episodes like these. And as a quick side, we are trying our best to navigate the internet to weed out misinformation and disinformation and bad players who are only adding to the confusion. So if we discover new things about people or organizations that may be something that's important, maybe that comes out with like, oh, this was wrong, they did this, they're anti-this, we'll come out and speak about it. And if you know something that you're like, you probably don't want to talk about them, let us know, because we can't always get all that information just from two people's perspective. So we always need your assistance with that. But we are going to talk about some of the past organizations that have worked and have done some planning. And that includes just the recent one, the No Kings protest, an organization that have helped put together this protest that happened June of 2025. The numbers are not completely clear, but the estimated attendees range from 2 to 4.8 million. So a pretty big range across the country. There are some inaccuracies. The inaccuracies seem to be due to the fact that small towns were involved in this. And I love those posts. Those are, I think, one of my favorite things to see is the small towns that I did not think would be a part of protests like this were out and about. But it was hard to count all of them. So there may be more. Who knows? And it's beautiful to see. Just recently, I don't know if you know, again, I time-stamped it. The vice president came through Fayette County, Peachtree City, which is one of the widest affluent areas in Georgia, coming to talk about crime rates. Everybody laughed because that's a golf cart community. They literally have lanes for golf carts.
Yeah. It's also where they film a lot of Marvel movies, or they used to.
Oh, yeah, they used to. So it's quite funny because they have probably some of the better accessibilities for non-car transportation.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot to be said. Anyway, but they had a protest there. It was lovely to see, protesting him and making sure they know that he knew that he was not welcome and there was no crime to be talked about. Like, of course, there's small crime everywhere. What we should be talking about is gun control, because if we wanted to control any type of crime, that would be it. But hey, whatever. But yes, so No Kings has been a part of that. They were able to infiltrate the whole country, and many people came out. I love the amount of people that went through this. We were able to see and participated. One of the things that made this protest successful was due to the fact that, again, it was in more areas than any others. So they had around 2,150 areas where the women's protest that was also one of the largest in our lifetime only had 650 locations. So it was pretty impressive that it was as widespread as it was. And with that, this organization has pushed to encourage more people to get involved with protesting and activism. In their site, they had a program called 1 Million Rising, which is an effort to train people on a local scale for resistance and for protest, which I loved. From their site, they said, 1 Million Rising is a national effort to train 1 million people to resist authoritarianism together. Through a series of trainings and local gatherings, we'll build the strategy, skills, and people power it takes to stop Trump and his enablers from seizing more power. This is how we get organized. This is how we win. So I love that. So they had a 4-part program on how to get it done and listing things. They do have some stuff on their site to show where the areas that have come through and trained, so that we can see if things are going forward with types of protests. And with that, they have completed that first batch of sessions with several locations registered. So hopefully we can see more of that. Again, this is one of those situations where I kind of go iffy, because if they were to be targeted, which we've seen in fascist states, that does happen. And this information is important to note. So just be weary because I know No Kings, we also had that big controversy where they tried to get people to register and everybody's like, wait. That doesn't seem like a good idea. And I will hold to that. That doesn't seem like a good idea. I think it's interesting to note that they wanted to know how many people would attend for like number wise, but for safety reasons, this seems like a bad idea. Just to put that out there. So in just recently, like this month in LA, there's been many protests. People are calling it music fests on TikTok because TikTok is really going downhill. We're just going to say it that way. They had a 24-hour day of action, which was planned by different groups, including CHIRLA, or the Coalition of Human Immigration Rights in LA, which was founded in 1986, or the SEIU, which is the Service Employees International Union, and several other key players that came in with different unions and different immigration sites. They came together working to mobilize and protest against the kidnapping and illegal arrests that committed by ICE. So there's a lot of cool things happening there. They're still going, from what I understand. I think it's just like not being noted. People are not seeing what's happening. And of course, the only times we see anything happening is if there's any kind of violence. And well, we know how that gets to that point, don't we? And moving on. And then, you know what? I don't know if we've talked enough about this. I think we've talked about it before, but the Quaker community, let's just give a shout out to that Quaker community who've been leaders and examples of protesting and nonviolent protesting for years, 4 years, since the like in the US, since the ending of slavery, they were there as champions and advocates to the Black community in that time to end slavery. Like, they have been a part of this community. In fact, not too long ago, there was like a group of like 300 Quakers who marched from New York City to Washington, D.C. in protest of the immigration policies implemented by the current administration. Like, they marched all the way down in solidarity with immigrants and how this administration is wreaking havoc and doing illegal things. And with that, they are prime examples of consistent support and advocacy work, again, throughout history. Like, I really want to talk more about it. But just recently, Quaker protesters were arrested along with others for protesting in support of Palestine in the UK. They have chapters and groups. I believe they called them the Friends because they used to be the Friends Society, I believe is what they were before, like as the Quakers. And that they have been consistently a part of these peaceful protests and willing to be arrested in the name of justice. I love to see it. And also, just as to put it out there, because again, Labor Day is coming around, and I believe there's some things happening. There's some activism happening. For those of you participating, here are some reminders from amnesty.org and their new campaign, which they call Protect the Protest, which is working to protect protesters and their rights in being able to peacefully protest and to alert the public of the violations occurring in suppressing that right. It's occurring now, as in fact, there was an executive order about arresting people who burn the flag, which has been a form of protest for years, for decades. And we know what's happening. Anyway, moving on. So they write this: know your rights. You have a right to peacefully assemble, a right to privacy, and a right to protest. If you get injured, you have the right to receive medical care. Police must avoid the use of force. So they say to do these following things: go ahead and plan ahead. Make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you know where you can meet up. Know the area. Know the area well. Wear protective clothing. And I think we've talked about this in so many of the Black Lives Matter about why that's important, whether it's eyewear, whether it's not wearing contacts, whether it's wearing clothes that are neutral and not marked, wearing masks because COVID is still out there. And then talking about packing emergency supplies, get your first aid kit. I actually take like contact solution and such because that can help flush out eyes. When we were doing pepper spray things for my old job, because we had to get pepper sprayed, they told us to use baby shampoo. That did not work. Just so you know. But you can try it. Don't use milk. That has been highly yelled at. Don't use milk because that actually can make it a bacterial infection and may be really gross. So don't do that. But emergency supplies, including emergency numbers, knowing your rights, all of those things. And honestly, with what's happening with ICE and illegal detentions and kidnappings and even like people faking being ICE to attack women. That's a whole different conversation. Be prepared to document human rights abuses. You have the right to film people, especially in this situation. What we would say is if you're filming and recording because you're so excited about being a part of the protest, do not show people's faces. Do not show people's faces. So there's a lot to be said in this moment. Again, we do ask if you have examples, if you have stories that you want to share in these protests, if you have ideas, or if you have actual organizations that you think should be shared, because I think that's something that we don't have enough of, then please let us know. Because honestly, I even asked our friend of the show, Bridget, who is an activist in DC, like, what do you know? Who do you know? Because it's really hard to find credible sources that tell you who is trustworthy and who is not. I know right now indivisible.org, which is a nonprofit that has a lot of law makers, lawyers and such as part of the organizations, are hosting protests right now throughout. I just saw one in Boca Raton, so I'd love to see that. But let us know. Let us know, because we need that information.
Yes, please let us know. And that email again is hello@stuffmonevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff Mom Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have some merch at Cotton Bureau, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, executive producer Maya, and a contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.